we achieve identities, not goals. And as you may know or should know, I am a huge advocate of goal setting. I tell people all the time you should be setting goals for the month, set goals for the year, and you can break those down into objectives for the day, for the hour, and basically schedule out your life based on the goals that you have set. So I am 100% on board with goals and will always be on board with the concept of setting goals and using goals as benchmarks for continual progress on both the micro level and the macro level, as I just said, micro being like the next hour, macro being the next year. And as I will explain here today, our goals must be aligned with our identities because we are much more likely to achieve things that are aligned with how we see ourselves rather than achieving things just because we decided that we wanted to achieve them. All right, those are two different things. So if you decide you want to do something that is not aligned with your personal self-image, you will continually come up short of it, even if you have it noted as a goal. So what we're going to do here today is get to fixing that issue so that we actually achieve the things that we say we want to achieve rather than saying we want to achieve certain things and not doing it simply because there's kind of a glitch in the matrix, meaning we personally don't see ourselves as a person to do a thing, yet we're out here striving to do it, even though our personal image does not match that thing. Let's get into it. Point number one. Topic once again is we achieve identities, not goals. Number one, who you see yourself as or who you see yourself becoming is your future. Who you see yourself as or who you see yourself becoming is your future. One of my favorite books called It's Not How Good You Are, It's How Good You Want to Be, written by an author by the name of Paul Arden. He talks about how early in the book, he talks about how your self-image of what you expect of yourself is the most valuable thing that you own. Actually, I believe it's the first line in the book. If you just open that book up, the first thing you're going to see is that your self-image or who you see yourself becoming is the most powerful image that you have, is the most powerful thing, period, that you own, is the way that he worded it. I'm not quoting him verbatim, but that's what he said. And he's right, because this image pretty much determines where your future is headed or where your future is not headed. So if every goal you write down is based on you becoming more of your current self-image or more of the image that you are working on stepping into, you would hit every single goal that you have. Let me say that again. If every goal you wrote down was based on you becoming more of your current self or more of the self that you are working on becoming, you would hit every single goal that you have. Or if you set goals and then determine that you must adjust your self-image to fit those goals, you would also do pretty well and hit a high percentage of your goals. Only reason that we come up short on goals is when the goal is not aligned with our self-image or our self-image has not yet caught up to the goal. This doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing anything wrong. It's just that goal, that unreached goal, needs to be a reminder to ourselves, a blinking red sign that, hey, our self-image, that's you talking to yourself, our self-image has not yet caught up to becoming the type of person who can achieve this stated outcome. Or, flipping around, this stated outcome is not aligned with the self-image that we have right now, which means either A, we need to change this stated goal, or B, we need to adjust our self-image to match this goal, to become the type of person. We need to adjust our self-image so that we become the type of person who is capable of reaching this goal, because the person that we are right now is not capable of achieving this outcome. So this is not going to work. We need to figure out another way to get to this, because the way we're going about it right now is absolutely not going to happen. So the key question here from this first point is, who do you see when you look in the mirror? Because who you see when you look in the mirror determines what you will do, what you won't do, what you can't do, and what you can do. And if you're not quite the person yet who can achieve a goal that you have written down, you have choices. Change the goal, change your self-image. But something must change, because your self-image is not aligned with achieving that outcome, which means it's going to be an unchecked box or a goal that's not crossed off yet, that keeps getting the can kicked down the road to keep trying to achieve it, but you're not achieving it yet because your self-image hasn't made the adjustment, not yet. Good news is you can always adjust your self-image and you can always adjust your goals. Point number two. Today's topic, once again, is that we achieve our identity, not our goals. Point number two. Your goals happen only when they are aligned with the way you see yourself or with how and who you see yourself becoming. That's the only time we achieve things. That we got to do stuff that are aligned with the way we have to try to do stuff that is aligned with the way that we see ourselves or the self that we see ourselves becoming. We're in the process while it's happening. So being that we're talking about goals, usually is about who we need to become, right, in order to reach the goal. And part of our goal setting process should always include the being part. Who do I need to become in order to do this stuff, in order to achieve this outcome? And who you need to become usually requires some sort of fundamental change in who you are as a person, starting on the inside and then manifesting itself on the outside. Let me say that part again, because this is really the crux of this whole conversation here. Who you need to become is about a fundamental change in who you are as a person on the inside, and then it manifests itself with how you are conducting yourself, showing up, how you're seen, and how you're received on the outside. So all goals that you need to reach, the question should always be, what type of person do I need to be in order to achieve this goal? Now, there are a couple answers you could give to this. One of them is I can just keep being the same person that I am and I'll reach this goal. So if I said something like, I set a goal for, okay, this upcoming month, I'm going to work out at least 5 days a week. Well, what type of person do I need to become in order to do that? Well, I don't need to become anything. I can just stay who I am because I already work out at least 5 days a week, which is why I would not even set that as a goal because I'm already doing it. So why do I need to set a goal of doing something that I'm already doing? Now, if I said something like I need to take some time off from the gym and only work out twice a week, well, I would need to change who I'm being. I need to change who I am fundamentally because so working out only twice a week is only for me relative to what I'm used to doing. So I would need to adjust my self-image in order to be okay with that change in plans, with that change in execution. So for you, who do I need to become in order to reach this goal that I have set? How do I need to change fundamentally? The biggest mistake that many people make, most people make when it comes to asking themselves this question is that they say, well, I don't need to change at all. I mean, I could just keep being the same person. I've never achieved this thing before. I've never done this thing before, but I'm going to achieve it, even though I'm the exact same person now that I was last month, last year, 10 years, over the last 10 years. But I have never achieved this thing, but all of a sudden I'm going to achieve this without making any fundamental internal change. That usually does not occur. And if it does occur, there is a fundamental internal change that occurs along with it in order for you to maintain it, A, or B, you are able to achieve something temporarily, but you can't stay there because the type of person you are has not adjusted to the achievement. Therefore, you go right back to where you were before. These are the only options that you have if you don't ask the right questions and or you don't make the necessary fundamental internal changes to match the external results as you want. So there must be some type of internal change to match the external results. And one easy way that you can start figuring this out is to look around at people who have already achieved the thing that you're looking to achieve as a goal and ask yourself, well, who are these people fundamentally and how are they fundamentally different from me as a person? How are they fundamentally different, i.e., the way that they think, the way that they carry themselves, the way that they see themselves, the way that other people see them, the things that they are saying. And usually you can find these people putting themselves out there, showing themselves. It's a great thing about social media is it's a way for us to let the rest of the world into our business. So you can find these people who are already doing the thing that you want to do, and then you can observe them and ask yourself, okay, what is this person, how is this person conducting themselves internally that is showing itself on the outside that I can maybe borrow from this? I can learn something from this. Again, it requires a fundamental change. To change the person who you are, that requires a fundamental shift that starts on the inside and shows itself on the outside. Because anything that is an action goal, then internal change must happen either first or simultaneously. Any action goal you have yet to hit, there is some type of fundamental internal change that must happen first or it must happen at the same time. So, for example, I like to run in 10K races. I run in 3 or 4 every year. And they usually happen either in the spring season, so like March, April, down in South Florida, or they happen in the fall season. So this will be around October, November, December, that last third of the year. And I set a goal. I have a goal actually this year of making sure that I come in first place in my age bracket at least twice, and I want to come in top 3 at least 3 times. So sometimes you can double dip and do both. So if I come in first place, that's top 3. Right. So I want to do that at least 3 times, top 3, and at least twice first place. I'm about halfway or 2/3 to each of those goals, respectively. And I know that in order for me to hit those, especially if I'm coming off some type of rest period where I haven't been running, I'm not in game shape yet. Well, I got to get myself back in game shape, which means I got to be out there running consistently. I got to be pushing myself past certain levels of fatigue, and when I feel like stopping and pausing, and I had to do all those things and make those internal changes in order to get myself into the game shape I need to be in order to go to the race and get the outcome that I want to get to. Now, the good thing is I know exactly what that looks and feels like because I've done it before, but it's still an internal change that I have to make because I went from resting for a month or resting for 6 weeks to running again and working out again. And I know I have to go through the whole process of ramping up my conditioning all over again, which wasn't where I wanted it to be the last time. All right, so I had to go through all of that in order to get to the outcome. So it needs to be something that you are, again, working on right now so the change happens internally the same time that the results are happening, or the internal change needs to happen first. And where people mess this up is that they think I need to do the thing first, then I'll make the internal change. That's doing it in the opposite direction. This is why it doesn't work. So any goal that does not require a subsequent change, we either don't reach or is something we already know we can do, which means we don't even need to set it as a goal. So, for example, I don't set a goal of working out because I already work out. It's already part of my identity. I don't need to set it as a goal. It doesn't prove anything if I do it, not to me. So, if I were to, on the other hand, change my goal to I'm going to do laundry every other day, because right now I don't do any laundry, but if I decide I'm going to do laundry every other day, that might be a goal that I need to set because it's not part of my current self-image, is not part of my normal behavior. So I would have to be consciously thinking about it at first to make it into a habit. Then I would need to make some changes in order to incorporate it because it's not something that I normally do. So that requires some internal changes, that requires some adjustments, that requires some changes to standards in order to make the changes externally because it's not something that I have going on. It's the same thing for you. What new goal are you setting? Meaning thing you haven't done before. And it could be a goal you set before, but you haven't achieved it before. And what internal changes are going to be required there. And many people get stuck on this internal change piece. This is why I said go talk to or look for someone who is already doing the thing that you want to do and or can help you break it down so that you can understand what changes need to be made. And it's usually much easier for someone to prescribe a change to another person than it is to prescribe to ourselves, simply because we are too emotionally connected and too personally close to our own situations to even see some of the changes that we could make, whereas others can see these changes very easily. Moving on to point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is we achieve identities, not goals. Number 3, any goals you set for the future must either align with who you already are or will require a shift in identity. So you notice we're saying the same thing here 3 different ways in today's episode. Any goal you set for the future must align with who you already are, or they will require a shift in identity. Most important goals are the ones that require this identity shift because identity shifts mean change and growth. See, a shift in outcome does not necessarily mean any change or any growth. A shift in outcome could be reflective of the marketplace changing or the customers changing or the people who you're dealing with. They did something different. So now you're getting a completely different result, but you personally haven't changed at all. When I was in college, I went to a Division III college, and we would play pickup basketball in our gym at school almost every night, at least when we can get enough people to come into the gym and play. And there was a certain way that I played that was good enough to be one of the best players in the gym damn near every night at that school. Now, again, this is a Division III school. It's not a hotbed for talent. And the players who actually had some game, there were a handful of us. We always stood out because we didn't have that much competition. We were competing against each other, but it wasn't that many of us to compete against, not even a team of 10. Now, at the same time, me and a handful of those players who were serious about basketball, we would often travel and go play pickup basketball with other players at other schools that were bigger than our school. So we would go play pickup. I remember I wrote about this in my book, Work on Your Game. I went and played pickup at St. Francis, I don't know if it's college or St. Francis University, but it's a school called St. Francis in Pennsylvania, in Loretto, Pennsylvania, and that's a Division I school. They had a basketball team too. These players were all more serious. Well, they weren't more serious than the handful of guys that I played with, but their whole team was players who were serious. Whereas at our school, maybe 30 or 40% of the team was serious about basketball. The rest of them were just playing because it was fun. So we went and played pickup basketball with those guys. And those guys were, first of all, a whole team of serious guys. They all were generally bigger, stronger, faster, because that just is what happens in college at that level. And when I took the same game that made me a star in pickup at my school and used that same game in their gym, it was not extremely effective. It wasn't very effective at all, simply because the players were better. So I didn't have to make any adjustments for my outcomes to change. That's the point that I'm making here. I made no adjustments to my game, and my outcome was completely different simply because of who I was playing with. And because of that different outcome, which was not positive for me, I knew I needed to make adjustments to my game, i.e., an internal change, the way I saw myself, because I saw myself as, okay, I'm good enough to go play pro. Look what I'm doing against these guys in my school. Then when I played against these guys, these Division One players, I said, okay, well, what I thought was good enough is not actually good enough, because these guys are in college too, and some of these guys are going to try to play pro too. So if I'm going to make it pro, I got to beat out guys like them. How am I going to do that? Obviously, what I'm doing ain't enough. So that changed my internal thought process about how I was looking at myself in my own game, because I thought I was adequate, but then playing against them showed me that I was not that adequate. So I had to make adjustments mentally. That led to me working on my game in a different way. And that led to me, well, the theory was that would lead to my game becoming better to where I would be able to compete against these guys who are, based on the schools we went to, higher level players than me. So this is the kind of adjustment that you need to make mentally, not just looking at the outcome adjustment. Because again, sometimes a change in outcome has nothing to do with you. It just has to do with everything outside of you, i.e., the externalities. So if you're selling bottled water in the desert, you may sell out all your water every single day. But if you take that same bottled water and you try to sell it in, who knows, on a rainy day in Seattle, you may not sell any water. There's nothing wrong with the water. The water has not changed and people's thirst has not changed. The issue is you're selling in an environment where people just don't seem to be that thirsty versus selling an environment where everybody's thirsty. That matters. So you got to make sure you're measuring the right thing. So I talk about this often called asking the right question. So the identity shift, the shift in identity requires a personal change and a change in personal growth, which usually comes after you experiencing or seeing or learning something that tells you what you previously thought may not be all it was cracked up to be. So what I had previously thought in basketball was that my game was enough to go make it pro based on my experiences. When I got a different experience, I realized, oh, maybe my game's not enough. I need to step up my game. I didn't look at it as negative. I looked at it as an opportunity for growth. And that's exactly what it became for me. So I would hope, and if I'm wrong, I'll give you the directive that any goal you set should be something that requires you to adjust, grow, and change in some positive way. Because otherwise, again, if it's just something that you're doing more of what you already do, you don't need to make that a goal. So if you wake up at 6 o'clock every day already, you don't need to set a goal to wake up at 6 o'clock. You already wake up at 6 o'clock. All right, what's the goal? You're not doing anything different. Just keep waking up at 6 o'clock if that's working for you. But if it's not requiring change and growth, that shouldn't be set as a goal. So something that you would do anyway, that just is part of your normal modus operandi. You don't need to change that. Now, again, me setting the goal to work out all the time wouldn't be a goal for me, just like you waking up at 6 a.m. if you already do, not a goal. I'm going to do it. You need goals that will stretch your identity, make you grow, make you better, and do so in a different and in a positive way. Good news about this is that you don't have to do this all alone if it seems like a daunting or overwhelming task as you consider it right now. And some of you might think you're not even quite sure what goals will force what change or what change will be necessary based on what goals. And many people tend to get stuck at this point. This is the reason why we have Work on Your Game University, so I can coach you on this, help you get clarity, and help you lay out a strategic plan for how to do this, and then coach you through the plan to make it work. And there are billions of other people on the planet besides yourself. And again, at least a handful of them, people like me, are capable of helping you with this, so you don't have to figure it out all on your own. So with that said, let's recap today's class, which is we achieve identities, not goals. I'm a huge advocate of goal setting, and at the same time, understand that our identity is really what pushes us towards behavior, not just the goals that we set. So point number one, who you see yourself as or becoming is your future. All right, so what you see in your future is really the most valuable asset that you own. Paul Arden in the book is not how good you are, it's how good you want to be. It's the first thing he says in the book. The self-image you have of your future is the most valuable thing that you own. Number two, your goals happen only when they are aligned with the way you see yourself or who or what you see yourself becoming. So it's about who we need to become in order to reach the goals. So part of our goal setting should always include who do I need to become in order for these tangible things to take place and happen. Number three, any goal that you set for the future must either align with who you already are, or it must require a shift in identity, or it will require a shift in identity. And without that identity shift, that goal can't actually be hit. These are the best goals to set because they force you to make change. The challenge is many people may not be too keen on knowing which changes need to happen. This is the reason why you have a coach. This is the reason why you join mastermind programs. This is the reason why we have Work on Your Game University, so you're not left in the dark trying to figure this out. And again, that link is down below in the description. Work on your game. Dre, all